The dark prison. The chamber was silent except for the hum of strange alien machines. The walls were made of cold metal, glowing faintly with blue light. Chains rattled whenever she moved, but the girl had stopped struggling hours ago. Her skin shimmered like pale silver under the harsh lights. Her long white hair fell across her shoulders as her head hung low. She was tired. She was afraid. She was alone. The alien guards outside her glass cell spoke in deep, harsh voices. They laughed as they looked at her, their words sharp like knives. She could not understand every sound, but she knew enough. They were waiting. They were preparing her for something she did not want to imagine. She pressed her hands against the glass, her breath shallow, her eyes wide with fear. No one had come for her. No one ever came for the weak. This prison was not a place for mercy. It was built in the far edges of the galaxy, hidden in darkness where no law could reach. The ceilings curved high above, pipes and wires dripping with strange liquid. The air smelled of rust and smoke. Screams from other prisoners echoed from distant halls. Every sound reminded her that she was trapped in a nightmare. The girl thought of her family. She remembered the little songs her mother used to sing, the warmth of her father's hands. Those memories were fading, slipping like sand through her fingers. She had been taken too young, her life stolen by the greed of those who saw her people as nothing but property. She whispered a small prayer, though she did not know if anyone would hear it. Her voice trembled as she said the words. Outside, one of the guards slammed his weapon against the glass. The sound made her jump back. He grinned with sharp teeth, mocking her fear. She hugged her knees and closed her eyes, trying not to cry. Tears would only make them laugh louder. She had learned that lesson many times already, but tonight felt different. The air carried a strange weight. The guards were restless, pacing more than usual. One of them spoke about the ceremony that would begin soon. The word made her blood turn cold. She pressed her forehead against the glass, her heart racing. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. Far above the prison, unseen by the guards, a shadow moved through the vents. Heavy boots touched metal beams in silence. A figure crawled slowly, his armor scraping softly against steel. His breath was steady, his eyes focused. He had been watching this prison for days, learning its halls, counting its guards. And now, he had found her. The human soldier crouched in darkness, staring down at the glass cell. He saw the alien girl, her body trembling, her face pale with fear. Something inside him tightened. He had seen many prisoners before, but something about her struck deeper. Maybe it was the way her eyes still held a spark of life despite the fear. Maybe it was because no one else cared, and he could not stand that truth. He adjusted the strap of his rifle and checked the blade at his side. His armor was old, scratched from past battles, but it was still strong. He was only one man, and the prison was full of enemies, but that did not matter. He had already made his choice. "Below," the girl whispered again. She asked softly for help, though she did not believe help would come. Her voice carried through the silence, and though she thought no one heard, the human did. His jaw tightened, and his eyes burned with resolve. The guards continued their cruel laughter, tapping on the glass as if she was nothing but a toy. They had no idea that danger crept above them. The human shifted, ready to strike when the time came. But he waited. Timing was everything. The girl hugged herself tighter. She thought of escape, but the thought felt like a dream too far away. Her heart beat slower, heavier, sinking into despair. She wondered if this was truly the end. Then for the first time she felt something. A presence. It was not the gaze of her captors. It was not the cold stare of the guards. It was something different. Her eyes flicked upward, though she saw nothing but shadows. Still, a strange warmth filled her chest, as if someone was near. She blinked, confused. and pressed her hand to the glass. The human saw that small gesture, a silent plea. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. His mission was no longer just a mission. It was a promise. The prison hummed with machines, unaware of the storm that was about to break. The alien girl sat trembling, waiting for the darkness to swallow her. And in that moment, in the silence between her fear and the guard's laughter, a human prepared to change her fate forever. The human's arrival. The alien guards grew louder as the cycle of the prison night dragged on. Their laughter echoed like broken metal, sharp and cruel. The alien girl pressed her hands tighter against the glass, her chest rising and falling with every uneasy breath. She tried to shut out the sound, but their words pierced through her. Mind. They spoke of the ceremony, the ritual, the fate she could not escape. Each word wrapped around her like a chain, but far above, the human soldier moved closer, his body pressed against the vents, his eyes never leaving her. Every movement was careful, silent, measured. He had crossed battlefields before, faced enemies, larger and stronger than himself. Yet here, in the heart of this alien prison, he felt something new. He was not fighting for duty or for orders. He was fighting for someone who did not even know his name. He climbed down, dropping silently into a dark corner of the hall. The shadows swallowed him. His armor blended with the steel walls, his steps as quiet as breath. He stayed low, moving, between pipes and pillars, watching the guards with sharp eyes. He counted every patrol, every shift of their movement. One of the guards passed close to him, the stench of strange alien flesh heavy in the air. The human tightened his grip on the knife strapped to his chest. His heartbeat slowed instead of rising. He was calm, like a predator waiting for the perfect strike. The guard turned, but never saw the shadow behind him. In a blink, the human moved past, leaving nothing but silence. Inside the glass cell, the alien girl shivered. She thought she saw something in the corner of her vision, a shape where no shape should be. She pressed her face closer to the glass, her eyes scanning the shadows. But when she blinked, it was gone. A trick of the light, she told herself. Hope was dangerous. Hope only broke hearts. Still, the feeling would not leave her. A presence lingered in the air, like unseen eyes watching her, not with cruelty but with purpose. She could not explain it. She could not believe it. Yet she felt it. The human crept closer. Now he was only a few steps from her cell, hidden behind a thick column of steel. His breath fogged inside his helmet, his pulse steady. He saw her clearer now. Her skin glowed faintly in the dim blue lights, her hair like white silk spilling down her back. Fear hung over her like a shadow, but there was still a spark in her eyes, a spark he could not ignore. The guards mocked her again, tapping on the glass with weapons. One leaned close, baring his sharp teeth in a grin. The girl flinched back, curling against the seat. She hated their laughter. She hated how powerless she felt, and then it happened. For a second, her gaze drifted past the guard into the shadows behind him. Their eyes met. Her breath caught. She thought she was imagining it, but she was not. Someone was there, a figure half hidden, but real. His eyes, human eyes, locked with hers. The human raised one hand slowly, placing a finger to his lips. A silent command. Do not speak. Do not move. Her heart pounded in her chest. She could not believe it. A human here, in this place of nightmares? It made no sense. Yet her fear shifted, turning into something else. A fragile thread of hope, so thin it might break with a whisper. The guard noticed nothing. He turned away, speaking in his harsh alien tongue. The human waited, motionless as stone, until the guard's back was turned. Then he shifted again, moving closer, step by step. The girl could not take her eyes off him. She felt warmth spread through her chest, pushing against the cold despair that had lived there for so long. She wanted to cry out, but she held her tongue. She remembered his signal. Silence. The human studied the locks on the glass chamber. Alien tech, layered with energy barriers and steel. Breaking it would not be simple. He touched the side of his helmet, scanning the systems. His eyes narrowed. This was not just a prison. It was a trap designed to keep her in and keep rescuers out. But he was not turning back. He leaned against the wall, his voice low, almost a whisper. The girl tilted her head, trying to catch the sound through the hum of machines. He spoke words. She could not understand, but the tone carried meaning. A promise. "I will not leave you." The guards shifted again, one of them walking away, another standing watch. The human's hand hovered near his weapon. He knew soon he would have to act. He could not stay hidden forever. Every second risked discovery. The girl pressed her hand against the glass again, her palm trembling. This time she did not do it, out of despair. This time it was a signal back, a quiet answer. "I see you." The human nodded once. A bond was formed in silence, stronger than chains, stronger than fear. The prison hummed on, unaware. The guards laughed, unaware. But in the shadows, fate was shifting. The human had arrived, and the darkness that owned this place was about to meet something it never expected. The struggle begins. The alien prison trembled with its endless hum. Pipes rattled, doors hissed, machines pulsed with cold light. But beneath that steady rhythm, something new moved. Something sharp, something dangerous. The human soldier shifted. Out of the shadows, his eyes locked on the guards, his muscles tight, his breath steady. He was a single figure against an entire station, but he carried himself like a storm about to break. The alien girl sat frozen inside the glass cell. Her wide eyes followed him, her heart racing faster with every second. For so long she had been, surrounded only by cruelty, yet now she saw something else. The way he stood, the way his gaze cut through the darkness, it was not the gaze of a slave master or a tormentor. It was the gaze of someone who refused to bow. One of the guards turned, his eyes narrowing as he caught movement at the edge of his vision. He barked in his guttural tongue, raising his weapon, but he was too slow. The human lunged forward, a flash of steel in his hand. The knife struck clean and the guard collapsed without a sound. The soldier caught the body before it hit the ground and dragged it into the shadows. The alien girl gasped, her hand covering her mouth. She had never seen anyone move so fast, so precise. Her captors, who had always seemed untouchable, had fallen like nothing before him. For the first time, she felt her chains grow weaker, not because they had vanished, but because he was breaking them piece by piece. The second guard spun around, his eyes widening. He roared, his claws scraping against the floor as he charged. The human pulled his rifle from his back, the weapon humming to life. A shot rang out, piercing the air with a bright flash. The alien fell with a thud, the echo bouncing through the metal halls. The alarm began to wail. Red lights burst to life across the prison walls, bathing everything in crimson glow. Sirens screamed, calling every guard in the station. The human stood tall now, no longer hidden. He had revealed himself. The fight had begun. The alien girl pressed herself against the glass, her breath fogging the surface. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She had begged for help in whispers that no one ever answered. And now, against all reason, a human stood, in the middle of her nightmare, facing an army for her sake. Heavy doors slammed open, and more guards poured in. Their weapons glowed, their voices rising in fury. The human raised his rifle again, his movement smooth, his aim sharp. Shots lit the hall like lightning, each one striking true. He moved as if the battle was part of him, his body flowing between steel and fire. But numbers pressed against him. For every guard he dropped, 2 more appeared. They charged with claws. Blades and crackling whips of energy. The human switched from gun to blade, steel meeting alien flesh in a brutal dance. Sparks flew, blood sprayed, and the sound of battle thundered through the prison. The girl's hands shook against the glass. She wanted to look away, but she could not. She had never seen such defiance, never seen one person stand against so many. Each strike he made carried not just strength, but rage, the rage of someone who could not bear the cruelty of this place. A guard slammed him against the wall, claws tearing at his armor. The human grunted, his blade flashing upward, cutting through the alien's throat. He shoved the body aside, blood streaking his cracked chest plate. His breaths grew heavier, but his eyes never wavered. The girl whispered, her voice trembling, though she knew he could not hear through the glass. "Please, do not stop." The human fought on, but the prison shook as heavy steps approached. The ground trembled, pipes rattling overhead. From the far end of the hall, a massive figure emerged, an alien far larger than the rest. His armor was black and jagged, his weapon a massive spear glowing with violent light. His eyes locked onto the human with hatred and amusement. The guards pulled back, forming a circle as their leader stepped forward. The air grew thick with dread. The alien girl felt her chest tighten, her breath caught in her throat. She knew him. Everyone knew him. He was the warden of this prison, the one who decided who lived and who suffered. And now he had come to crush the intruder. The human straightened, his blade dripping with alien blood, his rifle low at his side. His chest rose and fell with deep breaths, sweat and blood mixing on his face. He stared at the towering figure, without fear. The warden slammed his spear against the floor, the sound echoing like thunder. Sparks shot from the ground, and the walls shook. He spoke in a deep rumble, words thick with mockery. Though the girl could not understand every word, the meaning was clear. This was no rescue. This was suicide. The human rolled his shoulders, tightened his grip on his blade, and took a step forward. He did not answer with words. His answer was in his stance, in his eyes, in the way he refused to back down. The alien girl pressed her forehead against the glass, her tears falling now, not from despair but from something stronger. This stranger, this human, had chosen to fight for her even when every star in the galaxy had turned away. The guards whispered among themselves, their voices nervous. They had seen humans before, but never like this. This one did not fear death. This one walked into the storm as if it was his home. The warden lifted his spear high, its glow filling the hall. The human tightened his blade and crouched low, ready for the clash. The girl's breath shook, her hands trembling against the glass. The struggle had only just begun. The choice of sacrifice. The prison shook with every strike of the warden's spear. Sparks leapt across the metal floor, and the walls groaned under. The weight of his power. The alien guards formed a wide circle, their eyes gleaming with cruel excitement. They believed the human would fall like all others before him. To them, this was entertainment. To them, the fight was already decided. But the human stood tall, his body marked with wounds, his armor dented and scarred. Blood traced a dark path down his arm, but his eyes burned brighter than the fire of the weapons around him. He looked at the towering warden not with fear, but with challenge. His stance was steady, his grip firm. He was not here to survive. He was here to protect. The alien girl pressed her hands hard against the glass, her heart pounding so fast she could barely breathe. She had seen despair every day since her capture, but now she saw something else, a man who stood alone, who faced the impossible, and who did it without turning away. She wanted to scream, to warn him, to beg him not to fight, but her voice caught in her throat. The warden roared, his voice booming like thunder. He charged, his massive spear sweeping through the air with crushing force. The human rolled aside, the spear smashing into the ground with an explosion of sparks. The floor shook and metal cracked under the impact. The guards cheered, their voices a storm of cruel laughter. The human sprang forward, his blade flashing in the red glow. He struck at the warden's side, but the alien twisted, armor catching the blow. The sound of metal clashing against alien. Plating filled the hall. The warden retaliated, his massive hand swinging like a hammer. The strike caught the human's chest, slamming him against the wall. His armor dented, his ribs burned with pain. Blood filled his mouth, but he spat it aside and rose again. The girl's tears blurred her vision. She wanted to turn away, but she could not. She watched him stand again, even as his body trembled, even as his breath came heavy. He should have stayed down. He should have saved himself, but he refused. The warden lifted his spear once more, raising it high. He laughed, a deep rumble of arrogance. To him, the human was nothing but a stubborn insect. He thrust the spear forward, its light cutting through the air like fire. The human blocked with his blade, sparks exploding around them. The impact rattled his bones, but he pushed back, his teeth clenched, his heart unbroken. He thought of the girl behind the glass. He thought of her wide eyes, her silent plea. He thought of every innocent voice silenced by prisons like this, every cry ignored by those too afraid to fight. And in that moment, he made his choice. The human would not leave her, even if his life ended here. He would not walk away. If the galaxy wanted his blood, then it would take it, but not before he gave her freedom. The warden struck again and again, each blow stronger than the last. The human's body ached, his vision blurred, but he held on. His blade cut deep into the warden's arm, drawing black blood that hissed as it touched the floor. The guards fell silent for a moment, shocked that a single human had hurt their master. The girl pressed her forehead against the glass, her tears streaming down. Her voice broke free at last. "Do not die, please," she whispered. The human glanced at her only for a second, but it was enough. He saw her face, saw her hope, and it gave him strength beyond his wounds. He roared, a sound that tore through the prison louder than the sirens, louder than the laughter, a roar of defiance, of rage, of humanity. He surged forward, his blade slashing, his rifle firing. The warden staggered, caught off guard by the sudden storm of strikes. The guards shouted, but none dared move. They had never seen anyone fight like this, never seen a creature burn with such fire. But the cost was heavy. The warden's spear slammed into his side, piercing armor, tearing flesh. The human staggered, blood pouring down his waist. His knees weakened, and for a moment the girl thought he would fall. Her scream filled the chamber, echoing through the halls. The human dropped to one knee, pain searing through his body. The warden towered over him, laughing again, raising his spear for the final strike. The girl slammed her fists against the glass, crying out, "No!" And then it happened. The human pushed himself back to his feet, his body shaking but his spirit unbroken. His voice was low, filled with fire. "You will not touch her!" The guards froze, the girl's breath caught. The human stepped forward, pulling his blade free, his blood dripping onto the floor. He raised the weapon with both hands, his eyes locked on the warden. He no longer fought for victory. He fought for her. He fought for every life stolen by cruelty. He fought knowing this might be his last breath. The Zayat warden lunged with his spear, but the human did not move aside. He ran straight into the storm, his blade ready, his will stronger than death. The clash shook the prison to its core. The final stand. The hall blazed with crimson light as the human and the warden clashed again. Sparks flew in every direction, echoing like thunder against the steel walls. The alien guards pressed back, forming a circle wider and wider, fear creeping into their eyes. This was no longer the easy show they had expected. This was a battle shaking the very heart of their prison. The warden swung his massive spear downward with the weight of a mountain. The human's blade caught it, steel shrieking against glowing energy. His body shook with the force, his knees bending under the crushing weight, but he refused to fall. His breath came in heavy bursts, his vision blurred with blood, yet his hands did not let go. Inside the glass chamber, the alien girl watched with trembling hands, pressed hard against the barrier. Her tears fell without pause, streaking down her pale cheeks. Every strike felt like it landed on her chest. Every roar shook her heart. She wanted to scream for him to run, to live, to leave her. But she knew he never would. His eyes had told her already. His fate was tied to hers now. The human twisted suddenly, pulling the spear aside, his blade slashing upward. It cut deep into the warden's chest, black blood spraying into the air. The alien bellowed, his roar shaking the prison like an earthquake. He stumbled but did not fall. His eyes glowed with rage, and he lifted his weapon again. The human staggered back, his body weak, blood pouring from his wounds. His armor cracked, and broken barely clung to him now. He had no strength left to spare, but still he stood. His eyes locked on the girl behind the glass, and he drew one final breath. The warden laughed, a cruel booming sound that filled the chamber. "Human," he growled in his deep alien tongue, "you will die here, and she will still belong to us." The girl's heart froze. But the human shook his head slowly, his blood staining the floor at his feet. His voice was low but steady. "Not while I breathe." The warden roared and charged, his spear blazing like fire. The guards screamed, cheering their master, but their voices carried fear now. The girl pressed harder against the glass, whispering, "Please, please." And then the moment came. The human let the spear strike, the sharp tip tearing into his side. Pain exploded through him, fire burning every nerve. But instead of falling, he stepped forward, closer to the warden, using the very weapon impaled in him as a bridge. He raised his blade high, every last ounce of his strength gathering for one final strike. His roar filled the air, raw and human, a sound of defiance that shook even the hardest hearts. The blade came down with unstoppable force, splitting through the warden's armor, cutting deep into his chest. The alien staggered, choking on his own blood, his glowing eyes dimming. He swung his massive arm wildly, but the human held his ground, pushing the blade deeper, refusing to let go. With a final shuddering roar, the warden collapsed, crashing to the ground with the weight of a falling giant. His weapon clattered beside him, its glow fading. Silence swept the hall, broken only by the heavy sound of the human's ragged breathing. The guards stared, frozen in disbelief. Their master was dead. The unstoppable warden had fallen to a single human. Fear spread through them like fire. They whispered among themselves, their voices trembling, and one by one they turned and fled into the dark halls, abandoning their posts, abandoning their pride. The prison alarms still wailed, but the battlefield was quiet. The human staggered, his body swaying as blood poured from his wounds. He pressed a hand against his side, every breath a knife in his chest. His eyes lifted to the glass chamber where the girl still sat, her face pale with shock and hope. With the last of his strength, he moved toward the console beside her cell. His hands shook as he slammed his blade down against the controls. Sparks burst, wires snapped, and the energy field around the chamber flickered and died. The glass door slid open with a hiss. The girl gasped, her eyes wide, her body frozen. She had dreamed of this moment, but she had never truly believed it would come. The human reached out his blood-stained hand toward her. For a moment she hesitated, her heart caught between fear and disbelief. Then she stepped forward, her small hand sliding into his. His grip was weak but warm, and in that touch she felt the truth. He had not come for glory. He had not come for reward. He had come because no one else would. The human collapsed to one knee, his strength fading. She knelt beside him, tears falling onto his broken armor. "Do not leave me," she whispered, her voice shaking. He looked at her, his lips curved in the faintest smile. His voice was hoarse, but it carried pride. "You are free." Her sobs filled the chamber. She pulled his arm over her shoulder, lifting with all the strength she had. He was heavy, his body broken, but she refused to let him fall. Together they stumbled forward, step by step, toward the exit that had once seemed impossible. Behind them, the prison burned with sparks and broken machines. The guards had fled. The warden was gone. The silence felt unreal, but it was true. The nightmare had ended. The girl held him close, her tears falling against his cheek. He had changed everything with his choice. One human, standing where no one else dared, had broken the chains of fear, and though the stars outside still held danger, one truth could never be erased. On this day, in the darkest prison of the galaxy, a human had refused to let evil win.